I could actually bring that to anyone is slightly alien. You know, you almost won't let yourself think that. It's too good to be true. That I could be one of those marvelous Elvis people. And I don't know what it is. There's something about you sort of restrict yourself. You sort of rein yourself in. If I ever really believed that I bring like what Elvis brought to me, or Little Richard, or Eddie Cochran, Jerry Lee Lewis, I wouldn't be sitting in this chair. I'd be sort of floating somewhere above it. You know, it'd be just too marvelous. It's a great feeling, you know, and this is one of the things about touring. When you see people out there actually sort of crying, you go, oh God, you know. And it's a big choker, you know. That's one of the things I really love about it now that didn't used to happen with the Beatles. It was mainly, I mean, there was crying, but it was sort of hysterical and girls, and maybe they were crying for the same reason, but now I can accept it more. I can accept the emotion that happens in concerts because I'm more able to accept emotion, you know. Having had kids, having gone through this and that, you know, I think you once you've been through a few of those things, you are more able to get in touch with your emotions. So it's a great thought. It's a great thought, he said, beginning to lift off.
I asked the girl what she wanted to be. She said, baby, can't you see? I want to be famous, a star of the screen. You can do something in between. Baby, you can drive my car. Yes, I'm gonna be a star. Baby, you can drive my car. Baby, I love you. I told that girl that my prospects.
I think the thing about going out on tour last time with the band was that we were a new unit and we hadn't done a lot of work together, so the tour really broke us in, you know, and got us to really know each other in hotel rooms, on buses, on planes, on stage. That's good for making music together. You just get little spontaneous things. You don't have to go over and say, hey, now look, I want you to do this and I'd like you to play. You can just leave someone like Robbie and just sort of think, well, you know, just feel it, you know.
Yeah.
Because the tour did very well, we then got confidence in the band, you know. We felt, well, we must make a good noise or all those people would have walked out on us, you know. So that was the idea, basically, just taking this band that made this good noise and go and make an album with them.
She said, listen, babe, I got something to say. I got no car and it's breaking my heart, but I've got a driver and that's a star. My car. Yes, I'm gonna be a star. Baby, you can drive my car. Baby, I love you. Beep, 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 yeah.
When you get to the new album, it's always exciting. The way we recorded it was similar to how we used to record with the Beatles. Learned the stuff with the band, just played it, few times through, tried to not kill it stone dead by playing it millions of times. And then when we got a nice take, we just said, okay, now let's just sort of fix a couple of little bits in that. In fact, nearly every nice take we got, there was always someone would say, ooh, I had a mistake on that. We said, good, it's probably a very good take then. We got a good little take of Come On People. I just started chugging on this little riff and the song came out. And eventually played it to Kevin Godley, who used to be in 10cc and who makes videos now. He liked it, he thought it was very positive in these days of doom and gloom. He thought it was nice to have a song saying, come on, you know.
Come on, people!
Sorry, everybody, can we bring it down a couple of feet?
Who am I? I'm overtired, overfed, overpaid and over budget, and I'm Kevin Godley. I feel as if the artist can possibly relate to someone like myself more to make a video because I used to be a musician. Therefore, I might have more of a feel for what they're trying to do musically than just a director who has never had anything to do with music on that level. So I think it can be helpful.
Fabian of the Hour, Bruce Seaton, yeah. My favourite was Mark Saber, the one-armed detective. Oh, yeah, I remember it. A marvellous thing, though, you know, one-armed actors, sort of, when you do fights.
Mark, you could show me he's more left.
You always get it.
All right, here we go. And turn over. Speed. Play back. Come on, people.
Come on, people, let the world begin. We've got a future.
The majority of the video consists of a series of motion control shots that feature Paul at a wrecked piano that is, during the course of the video, rebuilt by 5 craftsmen who are moving in time-lapse style, very, very fast, round him. So there are 2 different speeds of photography taking place in one shot.
Come on, people, let the fun begin. We've got a future and it's rushing in. Call on the minstrels from the ancient shrine. Pass down the message that it's right this time.
I think of it as very 60s. I think of it as a bit Beatle-y too. But whereas in the past I used to resist, I mean, in the more recent past I used to try and resist any Beatle influences, thinking, well, you know, I've done that bit of my career, maybe I should now try and do something completely different. But probably nobody out there is going to bother if I or George or Ringo do stuff in the Beatles style.
If I were on the stage, what would sound like to me? If I were not on the stage, an opera singer me, you'd hear me all day long, singing out this song.
The piano is an old piano and I suppose represents the way things have been done before. Smashed up, it's broken, they're disassembling this and turning it hopefully into a beautiful, new, clean and wonderful piano, which I suppose represents a hopeful future.
Play back.
Come on, people, let the world begin. We've got a future and it's just
We'd recorded the track of Come On People and quite pleased with it. It kind of came quite spontaneously. And then we thought it'd be nice to have an arrangement on it. But this one felt like it needed to go a bit bigger. Come on, people, a bit more of an anthem. So I rang George Martin up. And he was very sweet. He said, Paul, he said, are you sure you want to use me? Because he's sort of almost trying to retire now, George. I said, George, come on, of course I want to use you, it'd be brilliant. Do an arrangement with me, We'll work the same way we always do. We just sit down together, decide what to do, and George writes it up and conducts it. And it worked great. He did. He got up on the rostrum, was conducting it like a young man, a teenager kind of thing. He put all his spirit into it. And it was lovely. Halfway through the session, he just sort of leaned over and said, super song, Paul. And I mean, that is praise indeed, from George. That's like you. It's a band album, and I like people who are into their music and enthusiastic about it. And all these people are good players, and they love what they're doing, And so it's a common cause. It's nice to be in something like that. It's a nice team to work with.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Robbie McIntosh.
Robbie is a really good guitar player who I've sort of noticed for a long time. I think he comes to the fore on this album.
Well, take out your pen, write out a check, because the man in the uniform.
Working with Paul, I got a chance to do some gigs I'd never ever get to do again, like playing in Rio, Americana. That was a world record, 184,000, but there was probably 200,000 plus. There's a lot of people probably sneaked in. So that was great, fantastic.
I'm back down in trouble again.
I find it more nerve-wracking, I must admit, doing these gigs, probably because I have to do all the singing.
Wicks is kind of originally classically trained pianist, and he's technically very good. Wicks helps Linda a lot with her parts and stuff, and he's kind of like our MD.
What have you been doing since the last tour?
Since the last tour, I have helped record the album Off the Ground and many more things.
Tell us about this studio.
I began recording at home on an old cassette recorder, and gradually I got more and more equipment. I use it mainly for writing and demoing songs, and for pre-production when I am producing.
Some drummers you've got to keep turning around to and sort of reminding them where the song's going, or he's slowing down or he's speeding up. Ringo never did that, and Blair's very good like that. You just set him off and he drums and you just don't have to worry about it.
Roll him! Action!
I do.
Hamish, having been in the Average White Band, is a real good soul singer. So, and I think our voices blend amazingly well. Sometimes I think it just sounds like me. Because Hamish is in the group and he is a writer, it's a natural thing to suggest, why don't we try and write together? So we wrote a couple, and one of them was called Is It Raining in London?
Dismiss them, put the other guys in, and lay down the other
In banks, kind of.
Yeah.
This is Abbey Road number 1, the famous Abbey Road number 1, and here today doing strings and horns on a song that Paul and I wrote. The strings have been arranged by a guy called Angelo Badalamenti, who did the Twin Peaks and things like that. He's terrific string arranger. Crazy Italian.
Let's take it from the intro right through A. Here we go. 3, 4.
Cut the...
Okay,
Let's see what sort of sounds like.
okay, that's what the listen.
And we're going to reach for those bits.
I think it's Julian. Golly gee. Now all hell breaks loose on the bottom here. It's strong. Yeah, man.
Whenever I go to Studio 1 or Abbey Road, in fact, you know, I always have to sort of stick my nose in Studio 2 because that was where we worked with the Beatles most of the time. So I took advantage of Angelo being there to sort of say, would you like to have a look around? So I gave him the grand tour.
Studio 1, the big studio, and over here,
Studio 2. Oh, we're backing into it here, and it's largely unchanged. This is like the very first day we came in to audition, because we never went up in the control room.
Oh, you weren't.
We were the workmen. We came
Oh, I
here.
see.
We unpacked
You weren't-
all our stuff.
Right.
We weren't really
You weren't
allowed.
permitted. Not
No
permitted to
way,
go
man.
up to the.
That was the grown-ups area. You know, we were just
Right.
little snotty kids. So we came in here. We had some photos sort of standing here, and a little photo session on stuff still exists. And George had a black eye. Some guy had hit him in a club. And then I remember all this stuff folds out.
Right.
All these big things. And all this padding, used to think of it like it's a padded cell, you know. They once found 2 fans up there. What's that noise? What's that? Bloody hell!
You thought they were bats in the
And I
belfry.
remember my big memory is of first coming here, doing Love Me Do. And suddenly, in the middle of it, because John had a harmonica part, George Martin switched me onto lead vocal. I go, oh, I'm not ready to do this. You know, like the first thing ever. And he said, will you just sing Love Me Do? I went, well, I'd rather if John sang it. He said, no, John's got the... He said, you sing it. I can still hear it. Love me do. And then under the stairs there was the effects cupboard. When we were doing the Yellow Submarine, we wanted the sound of a submarine or water or stuff. You could always go in here. Oh, it's locked now. Is it? No. And it's like, whatever you need, sir.
Right there.
This stuff, it's just here. You know,
Right.
I always maintain that the instrumentation on all the Beatles records was because there was so much stuff knocking around. We just tried it all.
Right. See what sounds
Just
best.
found a spot for everything, you know. You could have your 11-foot grands, you could have your baby grands, you know, there was Barenboim's piano. And then out the back there's the echo chamber. There's a little echo chamber with just pipes around, where we used to go for a crafty smoke. And we'd be in there, but you had to keep quiet, because you'd be on other people's sessions, because they plug into that room just to get echo. You'd be sitting there and you
In Penny Lane there was a barber showing photographs of every head he's had the pleasure to know, and all the people that come and go stop and say hello. On the corner is a banker with a motor car, the little children laughing in behind his back, and the banker never wears a mask in the pouring rain. Very strange, Penny Lane is in my ears and in my eyes.
Because it was to be called Off the Ground, once we had that title, I kept getting this image in my head of just a sort of very plain album cover or a landscape or something. And instead of seeing all the band, I wanted the band to be in it, because it is very much a band album rather than a sort of Paul McCartney solo album. Instead of just having them all standing there, I had this idea of them all vanishing off the top of the CD cover. So you'd just see their feet, like, oh, they've just flown off, and all we could capture as they went was just these feet. And I kept getting this image and thought it was quite a nice image. Slightly surreal, maybe memorable image.
These are feet. This is an original Paul McCartney drawing, Off the Ground. With a project like this, Paul does give you the backup to do something you want. I mean, one could have really done it in a very niggly way and retouched and stuck things together, and you wouldn't have got the depth and breadth of the whole thing. You know, it doesn't look stuck together. It looks as if you're actually there. And Paul is always there to get it as real as possible, or in this case, super real.
Penny Lane, the barber shaves another customer. We see the banker sitting waiting for a thrill. Then the fireman rushes in from the pouring rain. Very strange, Penny Lane is in my ears and in my eyes. There beneath the blue suburban skies, I sit and rewind. Penny Lane is in my ears and in my eyes. There beneath the blue suburban skies, Penny Lane.
So then it came round to thinking about what we'd do for the video. With the title like Off the Ground, I just had this thought, kind of obvious thought, that it'd be good to fly. I saw a great commercial that had been done by Industrial Light and Magic, the George Lucas people in California. And there was a lot of special effects in it. And I thought, oh, they're really good on special effects. So I said, it might be good to work with them. We eventually went out to San Francisco for a few days to go up to George Lucas's Skywalker Ranch, which was great fun, very impressive, where they've got all the sort of Darth Vader and stuff. You know, there's a little museum. It was great fun. I just really enjoyed it.
We're in the model shop at Industrial Light and Magic in Northern California, Marin County. On a stage about 100 yards from here, we have Paul McCartney strung up on wires in front of a blue screen. We're shooting special effects for his video for the title track of the new album, Off the Ground. And that's why he's off the ground. That's why we're here.
Bobby?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
You got that on the left? I mean, on the right yet? The 10K on the right?
Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah.
The director who did this is a guy called Matthew Robbins, and he's done a couple of films. He did Dragon Slayer and Batteries Not Included. So he's a feature director, really, but he'd done a couple of commercials that I'd liked. And I said to him this story, I said, and I'd like to not do a sort of Superman up and away, like a leap. I'd like to sort of start flying on the ground and just gradually get off the ground. And I explained it to him and described it. He said, that's fantastic. He said, I've got to do it.
Action!
What flying reminds me of is dreams that I used to have, particularly when as a kid. I mean, you talk to a lot of people and they have dreams of flying over their school, kind of like, I'll show you, you hate me, but, a lot of people have these insecurity dreams.
And action! Background! Lights!
Okay. So do bang, 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 bang.
Yep.
I think we'll fly Paul and then go in for their close-up, and then we can do this piece here.
When they're folded over, it's good. When they're not folded over, it means we have to work. So our aim in life is to get folded over paper. The movie is secondary. Sometimes it's never that good again. We should have shot it.
Really?
Well, we are going to shoot it. So, in order to put Paul into an aerial shot, we had to comb through hours of the very best aerial footage we could get our hands on. What we're trying to do is to match the movements of Paul with the camera movements from the aerial photography. And when they are together and they marry up perfectly, the illusion is very convincing. The other detail that is time-consuming but crucial is the lighting. If he goes through a bank of clouds, if he emerges into sunlight, or if he rotates and the sun moves from one side to the other, we've got to have our sun source, the right color and the right direction, the right diffusion, moving at the correct speed.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
And start your chin up and exit.
10, 11.
Nice, and cut.
Perfect.
Cut.
That was pretty good.
Here, Paul is flying through a real world. He is obeying real physics, real gravity, real nature. And I think that is what makes it will take your breath away if we've done our job correctly, because it is, with ILM anyway, immaculate reality.
Actually set a record for ILM for the amount of setups in a day. Even Robin Williams hadn't done so many. So it was great. It was a very good, fun day, and they got a great team, and we all had a laugh and stayed behind afterwards.
La
always hope for the same thing with people going to our show. I remember what it was like to have to pay some of your hard-earned salary, and really, you do have to fork out if you're going to a show. I paid 24 shillings once to see Bill Haley when I was like about 12, and it was pocket money for weeks and weeks, you know, saved up. And but I was pleased with his show, so I didn't mind spending the money. So, you know, I hope that people who come to the show, I hope they'll go away with possibly a little bit better feeling about each other and possibly a little bit of hope for the future. And with some vague feeling that that was a good band they just saw.
A special request, we'd like to do a little song called 20 Flight Rock, which is from the 50s. Well, I got a girl with a record machine. When it comes to rocking, she's a queen. When you dance on a Saturday night, oh Lord, I can hold it tight. She lives on 20th floor uptown. The elevator's broken down, but I walk 1, 2, flight 3, flight 4, 5, 6, 7, flight 8, flight 4. I'm on the 12, I'm starting to sag. 15 before I'm ready to drag. I get to the top, I'm too tired to run. Well, she called me up on the telephone.
Hi, I'm from Worldwide Television News. Hello from Greek TV Mega Channel.
Καλησπέρα. They haven't decided the dates for Europe yet. We're going to Australia first, and then we're going to America after that.
I'd like to play in Poland. I'm not sure if we're going to Greece.
But I'd love to go there. Yeah, I think we're playing Birmingham, and am I coming to Spain? Yes. But I'd like to get to Sweden, and yes, I'd love to come to Dublin.
This is Finland calling.
Hello, Finland.
When are you coming to Canada? Well, I'd love to come to Canada. And Finland and Norway. I hope my manager's watching this press conference, because I'm going everywhere if he is.
When are you coming to Stoke Newington?
Stoke Newington's tomorrow night. I think you'll just have to come and see the show, really, because we don't want to give it away. Goodbye, everyone. See you in Greece.
For us to play.
See, one idea of that was that initially it'll just look like a decorative abstraction. And you think, oh yeah, that's pretty, the colours are interesting. And then it becomes gradually clear that you're actually looking at New York City.
You know, you play in New York, you've got this on one side, this on the other, maybe upside down the other, but just using it for some big graphic shape there and there. And people will just say, oh, that's pretty colours, and then you start to sort of realise, you know, did you see your city? How do you like the look?
River.
Hey, this is how you guys look from 3 miles up or whatever it is. You know, that's not quite, it's 12 miles up or something.
That's not difficult.
60 mile up.
Whatever.
I was working in Germany and Paul called me there and said, look, we're going to do this new tour, and what do you think about doing the paintings? Well, of course, I was very pleased because I enjoyed the last time so much. He said, in the last tour, what we had was that formal grid system, and it worked very well. We've got that same experience from the audience participation point of view of this absolutely massive painting appearing before them. But instead of it being that formal grid, metropolitan, urban landscape, cityscape, let's go to a much more organic formula. In an architectural commission, the most important person with whom I collaborate is the architect. As far as I was concerned, in this project, Paul was the architect, and his music was the architecture. But in the context of the show, the painting is one element in a collaborative event of music, lights, structures, and painting. And you have an audience of maybe 50, 60,000 or more in the context of Brazil, hundreds of thousands, standing in front of these forms for a very long extended period. So they really have an intimate relationship with the paintings. And by the time they leave, they really know them very well. And that's nice.
Well, I've been here so long. Gee, it's great to work with you guys. And you know, yes, I mean it, babe. I mean it.
Can we have lunch next week? I'll get back to you. Okay.
If you don't know, this is Linda's book of the 60s, which is an invaluable document for all those people who are interested in that period of time. She's so silent that she gets moments that people who intruded on the thing, she's a bit, in a way, she's a bit, as a photographer, she's like, I think it was Cartier-Bresson said he doesn't want to be seen, he wants to be invisible. And she has a kind of quality of invisibility when she's taking pictures. She gets moments, you know.
I love them all. It's funny, I think Henrik's probably the one of him with his arms like that. I think it's probably my favorite. I think the Beatles with John and Paul with their thumbs up, because it shows how much they loved each other, and it showed the sense of humor rather than the press side of it that sort of turned it all around, that they weren't really good friends. Of course they were. They loved each other.
What do they look like now? What did you do? This way, Linda. Over here. Over here, Linda.
This is your first exhibit in Los Angeles. That's kind of hard to believe.
Well, I seem to have been everywhere else but LA, and I'm really honored to be at this gallery. I'm with good company, shall we say.
The Bressons in the other room.
Oh, Cartier-Bresson and Irving Penn, and fabulous.
How did you select these photos, or did you, for this exhibition?
Well, what happened was I did the book, and people kept saying, do a 60s book, and I said, no, I'm too busy taking pictures. I don't want to look back. And then one day I thought, I fancy looking back for my own pleasure, and I started looking through things, slowly picking pictures for a book.
There seems to be a spirit in these photographs. Did you know it when you were shooting it, or did you find it when you were looking back? There's a certain sense, a real sense of time in these photographs.
Well, I think we all knew something was happening, but we didn't know what. I think everybody was just so interested in the music they were playing, and it wasn't like it wasn't discovered yet. So the pressure wasn't on everyone. Now there's such a pressure to make money, to do it like the industry wants it and everything. But then it was just, hey, do you think we'll get a record contract? Do you think we'll ever get a hit or anything? I remember the Doors, they hadn't even released Light My Fire. We were all saying, that'd make a good single, you know.
Was Hendrix actually one of your favorites to photograph?
I think I saw him almost every time he played. I photographed him in England, and he said, we're going to America. Do you think we'll be able to make it through the front door? I said, Jimmy, you'll make it through the big front door.
My God!
Hollywood. See you. Bye-bye. Come on.
I saw the Capri bubble machine in his brain. Got it on that he didn't feel any pain. I'd like to see that man take out that machine, but stick it in his own brain. Well, you know what I mean. I saw a rabbit with his eyes full of tears, laughing only happened doing it for years. Why don't we make him pay for every last time? We couldn't cry in some tears. Well, you know what I mean when I tell you that we'd all be looking for changes.
I think it would be boring to just be saying the same things over and over again. It'd be boring for me as a person, you know. And things change. Things like animal welfare now are much more thought of. Things like helping people in Ethiopia, Somalia. I mean, we're all aware now. So you either have to react to it or ignore it. Now, whereas I might have thought, well, this is my private opinion, I now think, well, what's the point of me being filmed if I don't tell you what I really think? Why should I pretend to be this little guy who just sits there all the time and goes, whatever you say? I mean, I'm a person, and the thing is, the trouble is, all those people out there haven't got a voice, they've got an opinion. So somebody's got to say it. If that happens to make me controversial, then fine.
Monkey that was learning to chew. The guy beside him gave him cigarettes to smoke. And every time the monkey started to laugh, the bastard left his head off. Don't you know what I mean when I tell you that we'd all be looking for changes? Changes in the way we treat our fellow creatures. And we will learn how to grow.
Paul wanted to do something that was very British, that had a sensibility that was not American. So it just kind of came out of discussion in terms of trying to do something that was essentially British, had a kind of slightly Robin Hood feel to it, and wasn't shot in the desert or on the beach of California.
Move out that way, Paul.
I mean, I don't mind rain. If you listen to my songs, I don't mind the rain. It's a big feature. I'm always doing songs about the rain is good on your head. That would be something to meet you in the falling rain. Rain, that Beatles song. It's one of our themes almost. And as a farmer, I want to, I have to insist, you need the rain. Where would we be? So I don't mind a bit of rain.
I like where you look around and look back. You okay? Yeah. Well, maybe turn you Carol. Let's get a bit next to you out of shot. Get that. Go that way. Let's keep dry and try and do another quick one, yeah?
On a video shoot, you're making something that you want to be good. So it's not like you're working for the boss man. So, oh, bloody hell, why has he got us here? You're working for yourself. So you want it to be good. So there's no sense in moping around, you're only going to say, bloody hell, I look real miserable, and the director will say, well, you were moping around, So you come with an attitude, you think, it's a video, it's a bit of fun, let's have a laugh.
I don't have a monitor on this.
There's one monitor down, boys. There's one monitor down, boys.
Adrian's camera, no monitor.
Right, any checks required inside, Carol? We'll shoot this car.
Who are these people? Film people. Wait a minute. Finish what you got. That's a good boy. Yeah. It's good, isn't it? Hey? And some more? Yeah. You got that from catering. See that? It's good, isn't it? Who's that? What's that over there? When we were deciding how we were going to do this Hope of Deliverance video, the ideas came towards doing a performance thing. So Andy Morahan, who did the video, liked that idea. And we had a couple of little story things. Only one made the video in the end. The others got blown out because they didn't really seem to... Well, it took you off the band.
Good morning, good morning. Hi, crew.
Babes in the woods.
Humpty.
How are you, Tick? Tacky?
Humpty Dumpty sat on the wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again. Let's rap.
Use it.
Humpty rap. Now Humpty Dumpty sat on the wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All king's horses and all king's men couldn't put Humpty together again. Let's rap. That's rapping. It's a Humpty rap.
Hope you're not ready for us.
Can I roll the playback? Let's just get a level point.
Yeah,
the other guys have shot a video for that already.
Jeff, just roll it in, would you please? Once before.
This is the intro to the vid. Thanks, John.
There you go, mate.
So, Ian, we ready to rehearsal?
Yes,
Adrian?
I will always be hoping, you will always be holding my heart in your hand. I will understand, and I wouldn't mind knowing that you wouldn't mind going
We're in the viewing theatre of Twickenham Studios, where the films Hard Day's Night and Help were first produced. I'm Richard Lester. I directed those two films, and I've been involved off and on, casually and I hope socially, with a young P. McCartney. In 1989, Paul called me to say that he was going to tour and he would like to have a film that preceded his entrance onto the stage. He said to me that it should be something like first there was the Beatles, then there's Wings, and now there's Now. The film, which introduces the 93 tour, was a means of placing Paul in the context of his work as a performer from the early 60s to the present. What songs he wrote and performed, what he looked like when he did them, what was the mood of the times, what was the spirit of the age that the Beatles captured and then sometimes initiated, and place that in a historical documentary context. Going around the world with Paul on the tour from 1989-1990, I felt sitting in the audiences this enormous sense of goodwill and of a warmth of an exchange between Paul and the band and the audience when he would start to play the first few bars of one of the songs that they remembered. And you could see on their faces that sense of enjoyment relating to a period in their lives.
If all people know is your singles and your ballads, then that's what you present to them. You know, and in the Beatles, I tended to be known as the cute one and that. And these things stick, you know. I don't mind. It's just image. You know, and you've got to have one image or another. But I am glad that this album doesn't adhere to that, you know, and then it maybe in some ways gets me away from it. I think also touring loses you that kind of an image. If you're just always seen on a video smiling into the camera, you know, then they think, that's what he is, you know. But then if you get out there and rock and play a bit of guitar and stuff and sing a bit more harder edge songs, then they start to go, wow, man, you know, I didn't know you sang like that, man. Well, where have you been for the last 20 years, you know? Follow that cat. Hunchbacks, please.
Keep the old hi-hat going. That's it.
I'm getting out of here.
That was definitely a Showbiz 2 minutes. Yes, that was.
Yeah, it was. It's Pinewood time.
Okay, I think we're nearly ready, aren't we, Paul?
Crash, bang, while up on the rubber again. I got my eyes on the road and I'm feeling no pain. Find a real fine woman, ready to see her. So I said bye-bye, everybody listen to me. We've had a long, long ride, but it isn't to be. Find a real fine woman, I'm heading to see her now.
It's mainly a new show, and with a completely sort of new staging, a few little tricks here and there. The most fun will come when we start to see it arrive. At the moment it's all very conceptual. We've talked it, we've got some designs for it, we've seen little models this big. But when it's really big, that's the time whether you know you've got it right or not. I think we have.
But it isn't to be. I'll find a real fine woman heading to see her now. So get out of my way, get out of my life. I don't need anybody to tell me how to be right. Don't try to stop me. I've got the answer. I don't need anybody to set my little woman today. Get out of my way, baby, get out of my life. Don't need anybody to set my little woman tonight. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Paul's had a great deal of input. Some of the devices are straight from Paul. What we call the pivot boom is a pretty complex device which is not fully drawn here, but this will give you some idea. It's about 41 feet from here to here. It has a 7-foot diameter platform on one end onto which Paul can go, or anywhere from 1 to 6 people can go, before it pivots out over the audience and travels across the stage. This will happen 2 or 3 times during the show.
I don't know really, you get a mixed feeling about what it is that makes you go back out on the road. I think basically it's the audience, because when you write a song you do it on your own, and similarly with recording you just do it with a couple of friends, but there's no big reaction, it's just you. If you like it, then good, you go with it. But there's nobody to really make the decision except yourself or the producer. But when you get out in front of an audience and they like it, it's very obvious. They just cheer and clap and smile and weep, and so it's the payoff. You know, you actually just get the feedback that you kind of wrote the song for. Really, it's an affirmation that what you're doing is okay.
There was a girl who loved the biker. She used to follow him across America, but the biker didn't like her. She didn't care, she still persisted. Though her brother said she was twisted, and the family said they wouldn't miss her anyway. She loved her biker like an icon, gazing at his picture every day. Yeah. She loved her biker like an icon, slowly watching precious water drip away. She tried her best to fix a meeting. She pulled it off one night in Hollywood. When he met her, he couldn't let
trace of her sweet face was ever found. She loved her like an icon, gazing at its picture every day. Yeah. She loved her like an icon, slowly watching Precious Water drip away. Yeah. She loved her like an icon, slowly watching Precious Water drip away. Yeah. Yeah, she loved her like an icon, slowly watching Precious Water drip away. Yeah. She loved her like an icon. The old train coming down the track. Your loving daddy ain't coming back. I'm moving on. Yeah, I'm moving on. Well, it's over now. You broke your vow. I'm moving on. And I'm moving. I'm moving. I'm moving. I'm moving. Well, it's over now. You broke your vow. Moving on. Moving on.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, ignition.
Paul McCartney is off the ground. Paul McCartney, Off the Ground. The new album, out now.